Welcome to AI Business Autopilot. In this episode, we're going to talk about something every serious AI team eventually discovers the hard way. Building smart agents is not enough. You also need to operate them. This is Agent Ops 101, monitoring, guardrails, and human-in-the-loop for autonomous flows. By the end of this video, you'll know how to keep your AI agents from becoming expensive, unpredictable experiments, and instead turn them into safe, reliable, and profitable business automations. This is a slide 2 Why Agent Ops text. Over the last year, AI agents have gone from toy demos to real digital workers. They qualify leads, reply to customers, draft documents, trigger workflows, and even make decisions that impact revenue and brand. But here's the catch. If you don't operate these agents like real systems, they will surprise you, and not always in a good way. They can loop, hallucinate, leak data, or spend way more on API calls than you expected. Agent Ops is the discipline of making sure your agents behave, perform, and improve over time. Then, ID 3, title Autonomous Flows. Let's quickly define what we mean by autonomous flows. An autonomous flow is a multi-step workflow driven by AI agents. It typically looks like this. You take some input, for example, a new lead, a customer ticket, or a document. The agent reasons about it, maybe calls some tools or APIs, makes decisions, and then acts. By replying to a user, updating a CRM, or triggering a downstream process. Common examples include automated lead qualification, triage and routing in customer support, and back-office operations such as invoice processing or contract review. Once you connect agents to real data and real actions, you no longer have a toy. You have a production system. And that's where Agent Ops comes in. Plus the background explain. Why Ops matters. Text. Traditional software fails in predictable ways. You have clear error codes, stack traces, and test suites. Agents fail in much weirder ways. They can produce answers that sound confident but are completely wrong. They can get stuck in loops. They can trigger the wrong tool or span an API until your bill explodes. So with agents, you don't just need functionality. You need observability, control, and accountability. If you're serious about using agents in business, you need an operational mindset from day one. We'll structure this video around 3 pillars of Agent Ops. First, monitoring, which means seeing everything your agents do, from each step to overall outcomes. Second, guardrails, which means constraining what the agents are allowed to say or do, so they stay within your safety and policy boundaries. Third, human in the loop, which means involving humans at the right moments to supervise, approve, and continuously improve your agents. Let's walk through each of these in a practical way. ID 6. Title. Slide 6. Monitoring. What to track. Text. First pillar. Monitoring. If you can't see what your agents are doing, you can't trust them. Think of monitoring at 3 levels. At the system level, track latency, errors, and cost per run. At the flow level, track how many steps the agent takes, which tools are used most often, and how many retries, fallbacks, or timeouts you see. At the outcome level, track task success rate and real business KPIs like revenue impact, handling time, or customer satisfaction. Good Agent Ops connects these levels so you can trace any weird behavior back to specific runs and specific decisions. So what does monitoring look like in practice? At a minimum, you want centralized logging for every agent run. Traces that show each step, the prompts, the tool calls, and the responses, and dashboards that aggregate what's happening over time. For example, you might track success versus failure rate per flow. How often guardrails are triggered, how many cases are escalated to humans, and average cost and duration per run. When something goes wrong, you want to be able to click into that exact run, see which tool calls were made, what the model saw, and what it chose to do. That's how you debug and improve agents instead of guessing. Then, ID 8, title Slide 8, Guardrails, What and Why. Next pillar, Guardrails. Guardrails are the rules and safety checks that keep your agents inside the lines. They protect your users from harmful or misleading content, your brand from embarrassing or off-policy messages, and your infrastructure from abuse, runaway calls, or risky actions. We can roughly group guardrails into 3 categories: input filters that check what goes into the model, output validators that check what comes out, and policy checkers and action constraints that control which actions are allowed in the first place. Without guardrails, you are essentially telling the agent to do whatever it wants. That is not a strategy. Let's make guardrails concrete with a few examples. Security and privacy guardrails might block returning internal IDs, secrets, or raw database dumps to the user, and mask emails, phone numbers, or personal data unless explicitly allowed. Financial guardrails might block transfers over a certain threshold or require manager approval for pricing and discount changes. Communication guardrails can allow agents to draft emails, but require human approval before sending anything externally, and disallow offensive, discriminatory, or legally sensitive language. Behavioral guardrails can detect jailbreak attempts or suspicious usage and automatically tighten policies or require extra verification. Some guardrails are hard stops where the agent cannot proceed. Others are soft stops where a human must approve before anything happens. The key idea is that you define a clear policy boundary and enforce it with guardrails. Third pillar, human in the loop, or HIDL. Even the best agents will face edge cases, ambiguous situations, or high-stakes decisions where you absolutely want a human involved. There are 3 common patterns. First, review and approve. The agent prepares a draft, for example, an email, a contract clause, or a CRM update, and a human reviews and edits it before it is sent or applied. Second, spot checks. Maybe you trust the agent most of the time, but you still route a small percentage of outputs to a human QA/Q to detect drift and catch issues early. Third, escalation. When the agent is not confident or when a case is flagged as high risk, it escalates to a human expert. The agent can provide context and a suggested action, but the human makes the final call. These patterns let you move fast without handing over full control. To make human in the loop work, you need to be clear about who does what. In a typical agent ops setup, you'll see 3 key roles. The operator keeps an eye on dashboards and alerts and responds when error rates spike or service levels are at risk. The reviewer handles the review and approval queues, gives feedback on problematic outputs, and helps label examples for future fine-tuning or prompt updates. The designer or architect is responsible for prompts, workflows, and guardrail policies, and works with business stakeholders to align the agent's behavior with real goals. In a small team, one person might wear all three hats. As you scale, these become distinct roles, just like in traditional DevOps and support operations. Now let's talk about a minimal agent ops stack. You don't need a giant platform. You need a few critical pieces. First, centralized logging and traces for every run and every step. Second, basic metrics and alerts for success rate, error rate, latency, cost, and escalation rate, with alerts when things go out of bounds. Third, a guardrail layer where you define and enforce your safety and policy rules. Fourth, a human review interface or queue where people can review, edit, approve, or reject agent outputs. And fifth, clear runbooks that define what to do when something goes wrong, including how to pause flows, roll back changes, notify stakeholders, and adjust prompts or guardrails. ID 13. Title, Slide 13, Getting Started This Week. Text, let's make this extremely practical with a simple action plan for this week. Step 1. Pick one autonomous flow that is valuable but not existentially risky. Step 2. Instrument it. Log every run, track success versus failure, and capture a sample of prompts, tool calls, and outputs. Step 3. Add guardrails around the riskiest actions, especially anything involving money, sensitive data, or external communication. Step 4. Add human in the loop for high-impact decisions where you want judgment, not just automation. Step 5. Review the data weekly. Look at failures, escalations, and guardrail triggers, and turn them into improvements through better prompts, better flows, and better policies. Do this, and you'll be far ahead of teams that just let the agent run and hope for the best. To sum it up, monitoring gives you visibility, period. Guardrails give you safety and control, and human in the loop gives you judgment and continuous improvement. Together, they turn your AI agents from experimental toys into a real business autopilot. If you found this useful, then hit like, subscribe to AI Business Autopilot, and let me know in the comments which part of Agent Ops you want to dive deeper into next, whether it's tooling, architectures, or real-world case studies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.